Tell me, is it true that our choices, the way we communicate them at least, uh, and our iron will to pursue these New Year resolutions have something to do with whatever we have a psychologically sustainable year? That is, I don't know. Am I tripping myself a bit? So, are we messing up ourselves before the year even starts?
Um, there are definitely a lot of self sabotage around this time of the year for sure as well. I think setting goals we should think of it as something that only confirms the outside or only confirms the reality of what we can change. When there is very much a lot of internal aspects to consider as well. So maybe that's what we can look at today. Let's confront your trouble.
And make conscious the unconscious.
I am Josh.
And this is Santi. Welcome to this session in the Mind Quest.
Mm. So today it's December 31st. We thought we could do a end of year special, talk a little bit about for the resolutions and planning for the future. I think this is a topic that sort of comes around every time, every year at this time. I think a lot of things sort of remain the same. A lot of recommendations will be the same year to year. However, I do think the context where these recommendations happen, maybe that's what changes from year to year. So that will kind of be interesting to see how in 2025 recommendations may be different from what they were in 2000 maybe. So yeah, that's kind of the plan for today.
So I was thinking, like, today maybe it's a good idea to start with family, since there are surely family dynamics that, or interactions maybe, that are connected to the resolutions we set for ourselves. And so we'll review a bit on how my decisions and expectations and prejudges and limits are affected also by context and family context, right?
Mhm. Yes. So a lot of the times when we are planning for the new year, we are planning taking into account other people, whether that's parents, children, siblings, maybe even like roommates or chosen family, right? There is a context of the people around you when you make your resolutions. And the aspect of family needs to be balanced as well, right? If, without those relationships, the year would probably be more difficult. It is also true that trying to meet the expectations of somebody else, of a different group of people, may be more harmful for you in the long term than if there isn't, kind of going back to the episode motivation, if there isn't this intrinsic motivation for the change. So that's kind of the idea here, to look at this idea of where the motivation for the end of year resolution is coming from as well.
So of course we can ignore how to. I think we need to focus on a way to stay in action, to keep motivated, and go ahead with that initial impulse that makes us go to the gym the first day of the new year, and all of a sudden you end up paying for the whole year, and you go like 2 more days or a week maybe,
Mhm.
and that impulse fades out. And so the part of the idea, I mean, is to explore actually how I can become, or become, if I finding actually an actual way to complete the goals, to actually reach the other side, uh, and not just because it looks like a good idea, but because it's life, we're to overcome difficulties. So how, even with those difficulties, we can go up ahead and keep on track.
Mhm. A lot of what we've seen today about resolutions and planning is around, and I think that's why we like the topic of today's episode is a strategy, right? Because there is a lot of sort of thought or sort of consideration or sort of strategizing that goes around achieving these objectives. Um, yeah, and there are different levels of planning as well that we will maybe look at into more detail a little bit further ahead. Um, but yeah, but then we can go move into the practical side and start with today's story or whatever for you heard today. Yeah, we can go from there.
So I said at the beginning that I wanted to start with family, and I think that many times, surely because of unsolved issues. Uh, I said like the ghosts of the past may come over you and try to take over, and whatever happens on your mind is going to come back up.
Mhm.
Uh, but no matter how good our family relationship is, uh, sometimes we end up exploding right during the festivities. I mean, we come to this far to the last festivities of the year, and we just got the Christmas celebrations, and we got the New Year celebration, and all of a sudden, our tolerance ends and we explode.
Mhm.
Maybe sometimes with a specific situation inside your family, maybe it's an outer situation that somehow relates to your family. Sometimes it doesn't relate at all with your family, but you explode inside the family, right?
Mhm.
So, and it's like you're right to your family, just like looking for this sense of reinforcement. But friction start to happen, right? I don't know, maybe it's a stupid thing like, can you help me with the dishes, or can you help me with, I don't know, setting up the table, whatever is coming up, and friction comes up, and the reinforcement is fucked, and nothing works, and all of a sudden, you are fighting inside your own house. So, could it have something to do with assuming that what I communicated is implicit? I mean, and I think we made this error so many times because we start communicating something, but we like jump the steps to give the whole information, and all of a sudden we assume the other person is actually understanding what we're saying. Like your face is telling me now that you are not completely understanding what I'm saying. So, I'm getting this more or less the same vibe. I'm assuming you may understand this idea that okay, I give this. I think I'm giving this vibe of I'm feeling bad, but I'm not saying it, right? So I'm expecting you to understand that I'm feeling bad, so I
Mhm.
miscommunicated. Or maybe I'm just tired, but giving the same vibe.
Mhm.
And for other, I don't know, interactions, you assume that I'm angry or feeling bad or whatever. Yeah. So, or that's quite common in my house. Irony, sarcasm, right? Like miscommunication. Oh, sure, I'm okay. I'm surely okay. Nothing's going on. Yeah,
Mhm.
it is, and I obviously emphasizing that actually isn't, but actually isn't, right? And there are levels of irony that are easy to get, but some other times you're like too subtle to keep anyone on track. So it makes no sense. So, I mean, how we actually get off this kind of situation when we are in for a, I don't know, good moment and a closing maybe situation with with family and or friends or whoever you're calling actually family, but all of a sudden you're not really able to do it. I mean, you're letting out all the poison that's inside you that you've been keeping up or keeping out, and there you go. So how, I think the best answer a question here should be, how am I to avoid this to happen? Because
Mm.
stress hits us all, but I mean, I don't think any one of us is really going to our families trying to explode with them just in these times.
Mhm. Well, I think there is a key idea here that maybe is organizing this entire miscommunication. And that is how communication works. And this is something that we don't think very frequently, but that it is very obvious if you sort of take a moment to think about it. Communication doesn't depend on you. It depends on the other person. So one of sort of what do you call these? I think it's called this like an axiom of linguistics. Is that it's impossible not to communicate. So if if we get on a voice call and I am silent and for 10 minutes I say nothing, that is communicating something. Even if I took no action, even if I voluntarily did nothing, that communicated something. Okay, this guy, there's something wrong with this guy. It's been 10 minutes, like he's just staring at the camera. Like, is he, and is he gonna lose it? I don't know. Whatever the communication is. Imagine, on a more everyday scenario. Imagine your partner, your friend, your wife, your brother come to the house. You say hi and then don't say hi back. Oh, what happened? Are they mad? Did they have a rough day at work? Did I do something? Maybe they just didn't hear you. But communication doesn't depend on them. Depends on you. So you are already thinking, did I do something and are they mad at me? Did I? You are the one giving meaning to the action. So this is one of the sort of the actions of linguistics. Meaning comes from you, not from the other person. This is why we have to speak the same language to communicate. Because really, when I say apple, what comes to my head is not the same thing that comes to your head. So we have an agreed upon symbol, that's the word for apple, but exactly what's communicated when you use the symbol depends on the other person. So if I say I ate an apple, whatever appears in your head is not exactly the same thing that actually happened in real life. Maybe it was a green apple and you imagine a red apple. Maybe I say I ate a red apple. You imagine a perfectly red, beautiful apple. Maybe it was like one of those red and white dots apple. Like whatever, right? That's the point. Like language is limited. It cannot communicate everything. And because of that, misunderstandings are not a like I mean they are unavoidable. They will happen because there is no way to communicate perfectly. Like even if I were to write down something with following every rule of Spanish, if the other person doesn't know grammar the same way I do, the message will laugh. So communication cannot be perfect in any way, shape, or form. So in many ways, the solution is not to try to communicate better. That does help. And definitely, if it is possible to have that discussion and say, hey, you know, can you use your words like an adult instead of something else? Obviously, that's the ideal, that's the dream. But very rarely will that be actually something that happens. If you probably under this situation go and say, hey, you are not communicating appropriately, probably the other person is going to take that as an attack. As, oh, it's my fault then that things are the way they are. So very easy to say in theory. In practice, it's not so easy to say, okay, just communicate better. However, understanding sort of these layers of how communication works does help navigate a little bit the communication. So when the other person misinterprets something, it's easier for me to say, oh, but wait, I didn't do anything wrong. Communication, interpretation only depends partly on myself. I did my best. I expressed myself the best I could. If the other person still didn't understand or still misinterpreted what I said, that's on the other person. Because there is a dimension of language that I don't control. That depends on the other person. Same thing with my actions. Only I know the true meaning of my action. So only I know why I stayed quiet 15 minutes staring into your eyes. Was I angry or was I in love? Only I know. The other person, those around it, they will have to come up with their own interpretation. They can use the context, they can use personal history, they can use whatever. But those are interpretations. Only I know really what I meant. Only I know really what I wanted to say. So again, this kind of idea, sort of linguistic humility of, yeah, I mean, yeah, you didn't get what I was saying. Yeah, it's probably part of my fault. It's probably a lot of your fault as well, right? There is this equal responsibility in understanding. It takes equal amount of effort. So on one hand, there is that. On one hand, there is that idea of rather than trying to communicate better, because that won't always be possible depending on the other person, it may be a good idea to instead just have a clearly defined meaning for things, at least for yourself. So if every time they make a joke like this, I get angry, well, if this is the sixth time this happens, they probably know you're getting angry. So what are they really saying when they are making this joke? Beyond, just the emotional reaction. So what is the meaning here? We're trying to work on communication in a different way. So they are not going to communicate better. I can try to find a meaning that makes sense to me. Oh, they're just saying that maybe they don't actually want me to be here. Maybe they were forced to invite me. I don't know, just making this up. Maybe the real meaning is that, I don't know. And this happens especially with like, I'm thinking about like teenagers or young adults, where sometimes aggression will be a standing for saying, oh, I'm actually hurt, or oh, I actually like miss you and I'm sad because of that. But instead of being sad, I am being aggressive because that's easier, that's safer, that's more protective than being sad. So that's another kind of strategy there to try and, rather than communicate better, just understand the communication. So take that, joke, aggression, whatever, as a communication. So they are saying something. Not the emotional response of, oh, I'm angry now, but, oh, okay, what is the message they are trying to communicate when they do this?
Okay, but wait a second. It means also that if inside a family, everyone is overwhelmed by emotions, right?
Yes.
By any reason. Maybe it's stress out of work, maybe it's anything. Trying to actually get a good communication is nearly impossible.
Yes,
it's because really you hard. Yeah? Okay.
Yes, and because follow what you're saying, because it takes a lot of work. So somebody that's already tired, somebody that's already, stressed for the holidays or whatever, that's already, thinking about money because they had to spend a lot of money on gifts, to ask them on top of that. So now instead of having these focusing on the food and on the drinks, let's talk about our communication and let's try to. Let's be like fuck you, man. Like, let me enjoy my Christmas dinner. So like I said,
what you do then?
It's not realistic to try to have avoid the trouble. I mean, again, the ideal would be start beforehand. So if this happens every year, so then maybe in November you can be like, hey, how every year this happens, we get angry over this, we have this argument, this fails. Let's together, again, sort of turn it into this shared project, let's together figure it out. Let's try to make it more enjoyable. But again, this is something you do before. This is something you do in November. This is something you do in Mother's Day, like the previous celebration. Not in the where you're right there sitting with the turkey in front of you, ready to eat, hungry. Now let's talk about feelings. Now, fuck, let me eat. After that, maybe after the meeting, you can have like, hey, how every year we have this conversation. So that's kind of the idea. So, but again, right, like if it was easy to have that conversation 1 month earlier, a lot of people would just have the conversation 1 month earlier. There wouldn't be this issue to begin with, right? Another sort of ideal solution that would be sort of a year-long project is trying to figure out what the issue is, right? So if again, if we want to go back to this idea of this is a communication, I am trying to say something with my attitude, with my body language, with my whatever. Try to figure out what that is, and just put it in words, so that next year, instead of them acting like this, they can just say, "Oh, I really don't like that you are here with your husband because I think your husband is a bad influence for you." So instead, I tell you, and now we can all eat in peace instead of me glaring at your husband every 5 minutes when we are at the table.
Or at least know what we're angry at, right?
Exactly. Or, yeah, and sometimes there's easy fixes, right? I think something that I see a lot, like, from the perspective of a therapist, is that a lot of the time, the fix is really silly. It's like, okay, you shift I don't know, shift the chairs around. Just make something different to eat. Just invite somebody else. Like, whatever, right? Really, really simple solutions. But that are not possible in the perspective of we are right now in the table having the argument, right? Like, if right now I say, okay, let's uncle whatever change sits with me, that's going to look again. It's going to look like an attack. Oh, I am not an adult enough to stay here or whatever, right? So, again, the general recommendation is if you're already in the argument, that's not the time to fix things. That's the time to stop. That's the time to say, okay, you know what? Sorry, we couldn't have this conversation right now. Maybe next year. And you step up, right? In the heat of the argument, in the heat of the celebration, in the heat of the stress, like you said earlier, it's going to be possible to try and have this kind of work because this will work at the end of it. So you either do it earlier, you either do it afterward. Um, After the celebration is over, you can say like, okay, hey, this wasn't okay. I need to talk to you for a second. Because if this happens again, I'm not coming next year. Or if this happens a year, I'm not inviting you next year. Or whatever, right? So the other side is, again, you sort of bring in the logical talk about things and say, hey, you know how every year, instead of bringing a cooked turkey like I asked you, you bring the turkey raw, and we have to spend 8 hours running around trying to get the turkey done. Next year, if you don't bring the turkey done as I asked you, I would just order a turkey from Uber Eats, and you can just keep yours at home, or something like that. Okay, where you rather than going to the feelings aspect of it, you go to the practical aspect of it. So, what are you annoyed? Oh, I am angry because so and so didn't give me a gift. Okay. So next time we explicitly say either everybody brings a gift, or we explicitly say gifts are optional, and if you didn't get a gift, that's tough. Like rough luck. Again, but again, you do that afterwards, right? You have sort of this debriefing afterwards, and have this conversation, this moment of okay, we need to talk about what happened. We need to talk about what wasn't okay. And again, we talk about this very often boundaries. Like I said, what I just said earlier, of if you do this again, I'm not coming. That's a boundary, right? So if you insult my husband again, if you insult my wife again, I'm not coming back next year. Simple as that. Usually, there's some logic that falls apart when this happens. Maybe the logic is, oh, I want my son only for myself. Oh, if I keep being rough to their husband, wife, whatever, they are not coming back. Oh, I made a mistake here. So let me figure out another way to do this. I don't know. Maybe you can come back again so we can be together and name your wife or your husband or whatever. I don't know. Things like that. Again, but that takes work. That takes effort. That takes thinking. That takes creativity. Something you will do afterwards or before. I think the last thing I would say is you manage your expectations. Um, we talk a lot sometimes about how social media or television or movies sell, false ideas. I think this happens with Christmas and family celebrations as well. I think sometimes there is this idea of the ideal family celebration that you see in movies where everybody gets along and they are passing the sauce and you have all these Hallmark kind of movie. Maybe they don't happen somewhere. Most people's celebration are not like that. Most people's lives are messy, right? Like, there's like somebody not gonna get along with another person. Somebody recently did something that made other people mad. There is a black sheep in the family. There are these levels of complexity there. In psychology, we talk a lot about like family history or family secrets, in the sense that on top of everything, families tend to have a baggage of historical complexity that doesn't always get discussed. Like all families have secrets. Like all families have an uncle, a cousin, a great grandfather that people don't talk about for whatever reason, or that people when somebody mentions them is okay, let's talk about something else, right? Like again, that is for the real life. That is how most families are. So again, there is a new managing expectations where if what I'm looking for is the perfect Hallmark New Year's dinner or Christmas dinner, not going to happen. Like I can straight up tell you that's not going to happen. Really, really lucky, really, really lot of privilege for that to happen. Letting go of that idea and really just looking around and looking at what you really can have as a Christmas dinner, a family party, or whatever. That is kind of another step that you can take in terms of okay, like Uncle Jeff is not going to like stay sober this Christmas party. He gets wasted every Christmas party. We argue every Christmas party. Maybe let's stop arguing. Just accept that Uncle Jeff is going to get wasted, and just like figure out a way to that he will be safe and won't bother other people, right? Like maybe we get him beers instead of vodka. I don't know. Sort of work with the reality of what you have in front of you rather than with the ideal of what it should be. Um, yeah, I think those are the three things I could say in terms of for the getting things, getting the celebration to go better, but they're all like outside the actual celebration. But during the celebration, that's just like a show. The show has to go on. You can deal with it afterwards.
Well, and what if you actually live in completely on the other side of this reality? I mean, you got no frictions to fight out. You're spending the holidays alone.
Mm.
But and I'm getting to this point because, well, statistics shows that these are times of dark thoughts and people taking uh, really destructive decisions. It especially happens to people who, um, well, actually are spending their time alone most of the time. And, well, you may know better that there are a lot of things behind someone that is completely alone. I mean, sometimes, yeah, it could be a conscious decision and it's maybe the safest way to stay. But there are people that are actually struggling with loneliness. And we talk about some of this in the loneliness crisis episode, but this season seems to call on the darkest places in your mind. So if you're already struggling with loneliness, and all of a sudden you discover that you are spending your last day of the year alone again, or alone for the first time, and you're struggling with it, what could be some good strategies to actually overcome this time?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I think this has definitely grown as a more and more common situation in 2025 than it was, let's say, in the 1990s or the 1920s. And obviously none of that answers to, the economic situation, rent out of control and all that. But there is very much this kind of, going back to the loneliness episode, while loneliness has always been there, the way in which it appears today in many ways is unique to the present moment, right? Like if you were, I mean, I think I used this example last time. If you were like a medieval peasant, you couldn't really live like alone in the forest because at some point you were going to need something made by the village. Like you were not a blacksmith, you were not maybe you could make your own clothes, I guess. You were probably not a farmer. Like there were all of these roles that you simply could not do as a single person. In 2025 you can, because Amazon can do all of that for you. Because Uber Eats can do all of that for you. So there is definitely a lot of new situations that, as humanity, in many ways, we never really had a time to come up with ways to deal with them effectively. We don't have I mean actually I think now we have like an international singles day, which I think is the 11th of November. Because it's one one
Okay.
one one one. Right? So now we have this like that, right? But imagine that, in the Middle Ages, like unthinkable to have a single day, right? So I think in many ways the only way that can be done really is to use the same tools of 2025 to sort of try to navigate that loneliness. I say this because I was actually thinking about this the other day, after the loneliness episode. There really isn't a non-technological way to solve that problem. Because in many ways, the problem is created by technology. Okay, like what I just said, that idea that as a person, you would have never been able to literally live alone completely. Now you can. Um, so I would say, okay, so let's do what I did there. Let's go from the ideal to the more realistic. The ideal would be find a either local or online community where you can spend, I don't know if spend is the word, but where you can spend the celebration anyways, right? So this can be everything from, I don't know, maybe there is like a neighborhood party and there's people outside just dancing, just go out and have a beer and watch the fireworks. Maybe it's insane and you are watching a live stream of the New Year's ball drop. And again, you are participating with the people in there. We talked about virtual reality or a VR chat a couple episodes ago. We talked about VTubers, for example. If you happen to have a virtual reality headset, go hang out online and have that experience of being with people, even if you're not physically present. So, and that I think that is the key. This idea of physical loneliness does not mean you have to, as a person, be alone, because that's kind of what 2025 has made different. If you were a peasant in the middle of a forest alone, and somehow you were able to survive alone, yeah, you were fine. You couldn't really even know about other people outside your forest. In 2025, if you are alone, you can still share with people. You can still have experiences that are shared with other people. The same way you could go out and go to a bar, for example, and spend New Year's at a bar, like, I don't know, watching TV or having a drink or whatever. You could also, I don't know, join a New Year's event in I don't know, maybe you are part of a video game community. Maybe you are part of a for entertainers community. Maybe you are part of, I don't know, like, we talked a lot about this in the episode about friendship and fandom, on how belonging to a group is really the healing element. Here I
Yeah.
would say it's the same thing. Physicality, yes, makes it a lot easier to be part of something because you're physically there. But what really sort of helps and heals or like enriches you as a person is the participation in the community, which doesn't require your body. You can participate in a community without using your body. If you are part of an artistic collective, you can just send in your art. You don't need to you yourself physically be there. You're still part of everything because in the interface is whether you're sending. This is the idea as well. Is try to find something that you can be part of, even if that is just, like I said, just watching something with somebody else. That experience of sharing the experience, if it's a little bit redundant, of sharing the experience, that is really what sort of creates this connection. It's just a lot harder to do if you have to do it without your physical body and you have to do it online or something like that. So I would say that. I would say um if there is a feeling of loneliness, trying to find other people who may be in a similar situation is sort of the way to find a way to ease that feeling as well. Because by definition, you just found somebody else that shares your experience of being alone in your field. So it's a bit paradoxical that the search itself is the answer. You look for somebody who's going through the same thing, and you just found a community.
Now, I'm gonna ask this just because I think it's somehow close to me, or at least my reality,
Mm.
due to, well, my fiance is a veterinarian.
Mm.
So there's a lot of people that struggle with loneliness,
Mm.
turning their lives into a pack. I mean, they tend to get in their house many dogs or cats,
Mm.
so that somehow they turn into part of a pack,
Mm. Mm.
right?
Did the dog
It
just bark?
may,
Yeah,
it may,
that's weird.
yeah.
What a
My
weird
dog
coincidence.
is talking about dogs.
Yeah, what a weird
Yeah,
coincidence.
Yo-Yo is intervening in this episode now.
Okay.
He got an opinion of his own.
Yeah, we're talking about having someone with lived experience. There you have the dog lived experience.
But I'm asking this because there's a lot of people down here that are actually, I don't know if it's the right word, is they are like doing okay with this pack life, but they don't seem human anymore. I don't know if that makes any sense, because they start to prioritizing animal lives over their own
Mm-mm.
or anybody else's.
Mm-mm.
So I could get the thing of empathy with animals and loving them and caring for them, but I'm not sure on how this could be sane.
Mm-mm.
You know, is a good word for this, but I feel it like dangerous at some point.
Mm-mm.
You know, because you're starting to mix things up, and all of a sudden you're losing sense of simple things like your own I don't know, state of health,
Mm-mm.
and how clean you are, because you're starting to smell more humanly natural.
Mm-mm. Yeah, so I think you are kind of hinting at kind of how you can tell. And this idea of, I mean, and we talked about this before, this idea of intensity or frequency, right? In this case, we could look at intensity, right? There is a limit to how many animals you can take care of realistically as a single human being. There is a limit to how much money you can spend on food, how much money you can spend on veterinarians, how much money you can spend on room for housing for the animals, how much time you have to take care of them and play with them and walk them and all of that. So there is a physical limitation to how much you can take care of it. So if the amount of responsibility in terms of taking care of animals that you are taking is exceeding the limits of your ability to do it, yeah, that's hurtful for you, that's hurtful for the animals as well. You are effectively not taking care of them. I think it's important to sort of separate that from further the other elements of observable behavior. Because we don't know what the connection really is. We're observing like a correlation, we're observing that they appear together, but we don't know that they are actually directly connected. It could be the opposite, for example. It could be that the person was going to kill themselves, but because they found a dog, they didn't. So the dog is actually the thing keeping them alive, rather than being the thing that's, degrading their lives or making them lose or whatever, right? So we don't know that. So we cannot say, oh, it is the animals that's causing her harm. Maybe it's the other way around. Maybe she already has a lot of needs. She already has a lot of difficulties, and it is the animals that are keeping her sort of with us in a way, right? So I think the way you sort of identify a problem is, like I said, when the person notices that they are having to, I don't know, to sacrifice something to do what they are doing. So the moment that I have to quit my job to take care of all my dogs, okay, that's the problem. I just effectively put myself in a situation of vulnerability because of the dogs. So at that point, you would say, yeah, okay, we need to have a conversation about what's going on because you just did something that's hurtful for you. Um, but I think that's as far as we can go. Like in very, like I said, observable, practical terms of action that are harmful to her person. Not showering, not super harmful. I mean, you don't want to shower, not your problem. If I don't know, if you get an infection and your hand begins to rot and fall away, okay, yeah, that's the problem. Yeah, that's definitely not something that your life is at risk now. Maybe we need to have an intervention here. Um, I really go really far. Like you really go really far. I because like I said, a little bit unrelated, but again, the extreme. I work with cerebral headaches. Right, like I think the highest needs client I ever had. The line to for one was like baseline for her was really really low. Right, like the only time we would actually be like, okay, she's like we either like get her to take her meds for call 911 was when, for example, we would go to her apartment. Oh, and this was like a horrible, it was horrible. We would go to her apartment, and I remember you would get to the door, and like a movie, you would see like the flies sort of dancing around in the door, just crossing from one side of the other. And then you sort of open the door, you had like the swarm of flies just sort of go out. That's when you say, okay, no, like we get to either call 911 on her, or we get her to clean right now, and we are going to have to help her because of the job. Oh, fuck. Um, so that is okay. Yeah, no, definitely. You have this affecting you to the point that something is wrong. But like I said before, that it's very difficult to know exactly what how the person has reached the situation where they are right now. So it's very difficult from the outside to say, oh, okay, the problem are the animals, just get rid of the animals. Because we don't know. Maybe the animals are the thing that's keeping her alive. So that's kind of the situation there. I would say, yeah, I think that's the difference. Like intensity or frequency. Right? When these two things sort of exceed the level that are healthy, and the person is at risk or the animals are being neglected and hurt, that's where okay, an outside intervention maybe necessary, right? And when you may say like, hey, maybe call a social worker and say, hey, this is going on. Here in North America, you could do like a welfare check. You can call 911 and say, hey, I'm a bit concerned about my neighbor. There are 8 dogs in the yard. They are very thin. I don't know. 2 of them are chained. One of them isn't moving. Can you have somebody checking them? You could do that. But again, notice how none of this is you, the person, you, the friend, you, the child, you, the whatever, do something. No. You find help. You find, like I said, a social worker, call 911, find a different family member, do something. It is never your responsibility to do anything about that. One, because you don't know, and you will probably do more harm than good if you try. And two, because you probably don't have the tools. That's why people go to university to get the tools to do this kind of thing. So I would say if you want to do something, have a conversation. You would be curious. Like, I got you have 12 dogs. How do you take care of them? That's like a lot of responsibility. Have the conversation. Get to know the person. Try to understand them better. That's what you can do as a particular. But beyond that, unless you're planning to call 911 or do something formal like that, I would say it's very difficult to make that call of judgment of or they are losing themselves for God. Because like I said, we never know what really is the order of things.
Yeah, get it? Because, well, I mean, after all this, at some point there must be some equilibrium setup, right? So, I mean, for some people that are humanly alone, maybe this work out with pets, maybe enough company for them to actually not feel bad, or don't feel the struggle of loneliness during the holidays. So it's fine and it's okay with them, and they can actually survive on it, or even feel good about it. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, I would say, if there's also like a level of sort of logic to this, right? Like one pet, okay, two pets, I understand may make you feel more accompanied than one. Okay, three pets, okay, I understand make you feel more accompanied than two. But after four, five, six, seven, like, do you really feel more accompanied by more pets? Like, if these were people, would you feel more accompanied with more than four people around you? So again, that kind of logic can also have you feel right if there is something more going on, right? Like, again, like three dogs, okay, sure. Like you really love dogs. If you have seven, okay, maybe this is at least asking some questions. If you have more than 10, like I said, we're reaching a limit where it's humanly impossible for you to actually be taking care of these 10 animals. So, there is some level of reality there, but, between 1 and 4, probably yes, just fine. Like, probably yes, you probably feel more accompanied by 4 dogs than by 1, sure. So, but that's the thing. So, unless it gets really extreme, it is difficult to make that judgment.
Yeah. Yeah, completely. Now let's get to the annual planning.
Okay.
How do you, and how are we supposed to move from this idea of resolutions to adaptations
Hmm.
that take like temporarily into account? I've heard of people uh, who choose like a theme for the year. It's
Hmm.
like this year is about the car.
Hmm.
So everything we're gonna do is to achieve to get a car or improve the car or whatever on the car, but that's the theme of this year.
Hmm.
Yeah, or maybe it's a console. Today, this year is PlayStation 6 Focus.
Hmm.
Even it's not yet out or not really announced. Let's focus on it because we're gonna get it.
Hmm.
So you work on that, and there's this other way. No? And personally, I'm more discreet on what I'm planning on my year. I'm not really like showing off, but sometimes, I mean, it could be also because I'm not sure of what I'm planning.
Hmm. Hmm.
So I'm turning to a discreet way. And, and I must admit that I got a lot of struggles in communicating that.
Hmm.
So I'm not quite able to communicate what my goals are. I think I know them,
Hmm.
but I can't even communicate them to me.
Hmm. Hmm.
So, and with my partner is kind of harder because I do got the idea of what's going on and what's going to happen and how I'm going to achieve it,
Hmm.
but I don't know exactly how to fill it out, put it in
Hmm.
real words.
Hmm.
So, so as time goes by and you start advancing on the year and things happen and life goes on, it gets harder to actually finish certain things that you have set for you to accomplish as a goal. Uh, and the objectives start to get more distant, and somehow you feel like standing in the same spot and not able to move anymore. So you start getting bored, and like when you start playing Skyrim or Minecraft for your 25th time, you start with all the side quests. You
Hmm.
don't care anymore of the main quest that we were supposed to do. You don't want to become the Dragonborn anymore. You want just to be, I don't know, farming. I don't know, in the log, mining stuff, building anything, but you are not on the main quest.
Mhm.
So when you're on this idea of choosing a theme, how you actually get in this idea? Is it stability, or is it expansion, or it's recovery, or I
Mm.
don't know, something that's got to do actually with your finances, or is there any relationship with novelty over this idea of feeling overwhelmed that actually is putting me aside of the main quest, but actually going on the side quest all the time because novelty is in there, and I'm overwhelmed by this idea of keeping on.
Yeah, I think there are a few things. Um, let's talk a bit about planning first. So I think if yeah, there are different ways to sort of plan for the new year, and you highlighted the two most common ones. To either have goals and typical resolutions like oh I want a promotion, and to have teams like this will be the year of health. So I'm going to try to get in shape, eat better, and get my annual checkup with the doctor. However, I think most of what you hear about New Year resolutions has to do with how you fail them and how difficult it is to stick to them, or how you said earlier the example of gym of I signed up for a whole year of gym, went for 2 days, never went back. It didn't give my money back either. I think there are two reasons why this happens. One, we think that just because the Earth completed another turn around the sun, suddenly what I have tried 5 times before is going to succeed. As far to tell you, the Earth moving around the sun once more does not change you in any way. So if you already failed 6 times and you change nothing to the last time and you try again, you're going to fail again. So I think that is kind of the first sort of I don't know if mistake is the word, but the thing that we need to think about when we're talking about planning. New Year's an opportunity to plan, but New Year by itself doesn't do anything. Right? Like, New Year, you me, is just something we say. The actual change from one year from the other doesn't change in any way. This is kind of the same thing when we were talking about getting a degree. The day before and after you get the paper, nothing changes. You just got the paper. It is everything else and everything after that matters. And this is kind of the same thing. So the first element, like I said, is if I am setting a goal, I need to be honest about how achievable those goals are. So if I know I never stick to the gym, and I know I have done this 3 times and I never stick to the gym, why am I going to try a fourth time? Oh, because it's the new year. Okay. What has changed? Why are you more confident that you will succeed this time if the other three you fail? Because it's the new year. No, that's nothing changed. The new year is gone. That's just an illusion. That's just like that's the hype of the new year. But that's why you go 2 times and then you never go again, because the hype only lasts for 2 times. But the first element is if I am going to set a goal, is that goal achievable? Do I have any evidence, any plan, any strategy to make that goal achievable? Yes, I will sign up for the gym. Okay, but you already failed this 4 times. What is the plan to get into the gym? You know what I mean? So this is the first step. Okay, so plan the same way you would plan any other thing. You have to have a set of steps that you are going to take to get to the objective. If you think about it, the gym is not the objective. The objective is to get in shape, to lose weight, to be healthy. That is the objective. So you take a step back and say, okay, wait. Definitely gym not for me. how do I complete this objective in some other way? You know what? Maybe gym, not the idea. But I have these uncle, these aunt, these friend, these my son, my wife, whoever. They go on a walk every morning. What if I ask them to take me with them? And that way, they also have the family pressure of having to get up. We look for another way. So again, if I'm um, if I'm formulating objectives, these have to be achievable. Getting in shape, yeah, 100% achievable. Going to the gym, maybe not achievable. Do you see kind of the idea here?
Yeah. There are a lot of magical thinking back in there, and also like getting too much into the stereotypical way of doing it. I mean, yeah, of course, I'm not seeing at the objective, I'm seeing at the way instead of it. So I don't know how to get it.
Exact. You're mistaking the road for the destination. The gym, no, the gym is the tool, not the destination. Mm-mm. I kind of following that idea of motivation. I think that like thinking of really what's my actual goal or what's the theme, that also helps with motivation as well. Because if I say, oh wait, it's not the gym that I want, it is to get in shape, maybe that has more intrinsic motivation than going to the gym. I really want to get in shape because I want to find a new girlfriend. I not really want to go to the gym. Do you see kind of that player motivation there as well? But
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
kind of the other level there. So reconsider really what the why are you setting this goal for yourself, and maybe there's another way to achieve that objective. What was the other half of the question? I think that was only the first half.
I know, but so I was thinking now that you were talking into this, finally this question makes some sense because
Mm-mm.
this was here and I wrote it down so I can remember because I thought it was important. But the business is when you're working out. I mean, working out your objectives and your goals or whatever you're trying to go on.
Mm.
I think we miss what we actually accomplished due to, I don't know, you see it unfinished,
Mm.
right?
Mm.
So, and this question was here like this, and I'm gonna read it because I need it like this.
Mm.
What must be true for this plan to still count as success? As success.
Mm.
So, no, go on.
No, I was going to say the thing is that I think that like I would take a step back and say the problem is thinking in a binary in terms of success and failure. Because 1 year is a long time. And there are a lot of small steps that you are going to have to take to get to whatever goal it is you are trying to achieve. But those steps are not wasted. If my goal is to get buff and I only lose weight, I didn't waste time. I did get something. I just didn't get the original plan, which was to get buff. I maybe just lost some fat. So I think kind of the secret there is to completely step back from the binary of success and failure and think of it in terms of a process, in terms of a process that goes from 0 to 100. And you are trying to get as far as you can in that process. Knowing that the 100, while it is the ideal, it is also the least likely to happen. And I think, again, the secret there is to be honest about the progress. So, if my goal, again, let's say, is to lose, I don't know, 30 kilograms this year, and I lose 2, and I tell myself, yes, I did it! I am robbing myself of the actual challenge. I am robbing myself of the actual usefulness of my goal. But the opposite is also true. If I want to lose 30 kilos and I lose 29, and I tell myself, oh, I failed, I am robbing myself of the success of the 29 kilos of success that I did do. So I think the solution is to completely move away from the binary of success, of this is something that I do or I fail. I'd rather see it in terms of this is something I'm going to develop. So, oh, this is a process. So, losing weight is a process. So, I am going to advance as far as I can in that process, knowing that the end is my ideal weight. If my goal is to get better at painting, right? I will try to get as far as I can in the process of getting better, knowing that maybe my goal is to be like fucking Da Vinci, probably not going to happen in 1 year. Right? So that's kind of the idea there. It is very difficult to know exactly what you are capable of in 1 year. It is very challenging to have an accurate assessment of your own potential. Because it depends on a lot of things. So if trying to set a specific goal is usually a recipe for failure. Because either you overshoot and it is very, very difficult, or you undershoot and you are done in February and now you feel like you wasted the other 8 months of the year. So that's what I would say there. Take a step back from the idea of success. I'd rather see it as a process, as a bar that you are trying to fill, as a mind that you are trying to transform, as something like that, rather than something that you do or you don't.
Okay, so if that's kind of the situation, and I'm struggling with all this process thing, are there any like external structures
Yes.
that could help me carry on the load?
Yes, you just notice what the issue is. External structures in our Western society in 2025 are usually binary. Either you succeed or you fail. Either you pass the exam or you fail the exam. There is no, okay, you kind of pass, right? Like
Grayscale, no.
exactly. No, like 15.5, that was the passing line. Even less than that you fail, even more than that you succeed. Um, you know, I'm trying to think about a sample. I'm trying to go for examples. Um, okay, so yes, so there are a few external structures. I would say, considering what I just said, that normally we're used to these binary structures, the strategy can be to find somewhere in the middle. So, for example, rather than straight up saying, okay, you know what, now I'm all about the process and now I'm all about like little steps, you can say, okay, instead of having a big, long goal for the whole year, let's split this into smaller goals. Maybe in January, I'm going to try to focus on my, I don't know, I've been talking about the weight for the whole trip. I'm going to focus on my weight. If at the end of January I am, I don't know, here, I will move on to something else. If not, I will keep with my weight. So you have these sort of checkpoints in the middle. So you are sort of combining these two structures. You still have the binary of, okay, did I do what I was wanting to do this month? But you also have the flexibility of saying, oh, wait, maybe I need to change my strategy here. Maybe I need to do something else. Maybe I already did it, and I can move on to the next step. So that sort of combination would be one way to do this in terms of practical model, where you have smaller goals for smaller stretches of time. Another thing you can do is to find goals that you can measure constantly. So rather than saying I am going to lose 30 kilos by the end of the year, you can say I will track my weight every week, or I will track my weight every month, and I will just try to get lower than I did last month. So again, you're somewhere in the middle. You have a relative goal. It depends on what happened last month, but you also have a goal. Did I succeed or did I fail? Oh, I didn't. I failed, so I have to go under. Does that make sense?
Yeah, like don't take it too dramatically as you go on with the idea, right? So let it cook somehow.
Exactly. Like making like a feedback process. When you do something, you measure and come up with a new plan. You do something, you measure. So rather than one big one, at the end of the year, oh shit, I failed. Oh shit, I failed a little bit. I can fix it, and I take the next step. So that's
and
kind
go
of the
on.
idea.
Yeah,
So that way you can sort of retain the structure of failure and success, but you're also sort of gain some of the flexibility of being able to answer to your own feedback and say, oh, maybe I didn't go to the gym once this month. Okay, maybe I need to do something else to lose weight. Let me try bouldering. Let me try walking. Let me try parkour, and you can do something else.
let's get into the paddle cult.
Let's get into the political. Yeah, yeah. Mm-mm.
So, well, uh, honestly, I was thinking about all this setting up goals for the new year.
Mm.
It's beginning to look it's something more like ritualistic in
Yeah,
our context than something that is actually meant to turn into a reality.
yeah.
Uh, at least in my close circle. I mean, I've known of people that actually establishes financial goals and expectations that are based on numbers and stuff, and they prepare a whole program and they got all those things done because they are specialized in those kind of areas. But that's not for the good of all folks. So
Mm-mm.
since most of us are not specialists in finance and economics and whatever else you need to know for you to establish all those stuffs, uh, it's actually this tradition of establishing goals is more or less like the kiss at midnight. So it serves no purpose but the fun of the moment, unless I think you work it out really and you got something to do.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, More common down here is to burn an effigy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, or maybe you're in that self-destructive ideas of eating as much grapes as you can during a second, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh no, you're the ones that want to grab your traveling bag around the block and go around shouting Happy New Year to everyone. I don't know. Well, there are many traditions out there, and especially down here in Ecuador, we got a lot of crazy stuff that are going on, including changing the color of your underwear depending on what you want to achieve. And so, um, I mean, since it's more like a ritual, it ain't turning like a unrealistic way to set up goals. And then if it's unrealistic and somehow we manage to realize, okay, now it's a tradition, why we're getting upset about not actually accomplishing them?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's funny that you say that because I was thinking about that as well. Like for a lot of people, it is less about actually fulfilling the goals and just about having the goals so that to mark the end of the year, rather than actually something that they plan to follow. Yeah, I think that's a good perspective as well. Like I think it does have that function of yeah, maybe a ritual is literally in the perfect word, like a ritual to mark the end of the year. I think it's because not everyone is aware that they are doing a ritual. Because not everyone just has taken the time to think about, oh, I'm doing this to mark the end of the cycle. Genuinely, they are convinced that, oh, I really will go to the gym this year, even if I've already failed 5 times. This year, for sure, I'm going to go to the gym. I would say maybe at some point that may be even part of the ritual to actually sign up to the gym and fail. We don't know exactly what will
It's
work. Yeah.
a very
So
expensive ritual.
so I would say maybe the element here would be sort of to the opposite of that would be it is also valid to not have goals. I think that's also worth saying as well. Right? Like I think we do have to like clarify that this whole thing about the goals and rituals and or well, not rituals about the goals and changes and New Year's resolutions. I mean, it is original. Like it is something that we do very much out of tradition. We do very much out of like capitalism conditions you to think of things in terms of success and failure and getting always better and better and better. But you don't have to have a goal. Well, like maybe you are content the way your life is right now. You are content just enjoying another year of living your life. Maybe you want to see sort of be surprised by the new year. Maybe you want to take life as it comes, as they say. And rather than planning for something, you want to go into the new year as if it were an adventure, when you are going to discover the new year rather than plan for it. I think that's also a very valid way of sort of taking the new year as well. In many ways, your resolution can be to take life as it comes and take things one day at a time. I think, especially for people in difficult situations or in challenging environments, taking life one day at a time is usually the sort of the default way of living. I think New Year's also has a space for that. Maybe it is just a day to relax, to grab some energy and get ready for the next one. Um, I simply say just be aware of that. Just be aware of what you are doing. Be aware if you are whether you are choosing to not have goals and just take life as it comes and go into the new year as an adventure, or if you are choosing to actually set yourself some goals and try to achieve them. Just be aware and be intentional about that. So if you are going to set yourself goals, then be honest that, like we said earlier, set goals that you can actually achieve. If you don't want to set goals, yeah, same thing, but just be honest. Feel like, okay, this year is going to be the year of discovery. That's the theme for this year: adventure, discovery, the uncertainty, and go with that attitude into the new year. But what's important is that is the intentionality there. Is the actually that's the ritual, the ritualization of it, the putting it into words.
Yeah. You know what? It actually reminds me of, or not reminds me, but actually got me thinking on this idea of, are these things we do somehow like reshaping us? Because, well, I've been I've been writing for quite some time, and I set as 2025's resolution the idea of finishing my first novel. And I laid that out, and I started having the idea. But actually, I finished writing. Yeah, but I think I didn't think of all the extra process that is needed actually to finish the piece of work that I'm doing.
Mhm,
So obviously layout is not there, or is incomplete. There's a lot of illustrations that I still need to draw and redraw and rework and frame them into the specific spaces, organize the text, etc., etc. So it's incomplete, and somehow the goal feels failed,
mhm,
like not really reached. Because, but at the same time, what I thought was the goal was finish writing the novel, not actually get to the publishing process.
mhm,
So somehow it feels also like I'm cheating myself, because
mhm,
no, wait, I didn't say I'm gonna finish the editing process. I just said I'm gonna finish writing. So in that part, I do accomplish my goal, but it's not really what I wanted. So I was like dishonest with myself
mhm, mhm,
in establishing the goal somehow.
mhm,
So the thing is, by all these decisions we take, or specifically me, who am I becoming? Uh, if I follow the goals that I actually established for myself. I mean, in this poor example, maybe that about me writing down and having the novel completed in the, I don't mean the text of the novel is complete, but not really the whole document or the file that is needed for it to be actually sent to editorial process and then published or whatever is going to happen to it.
mhm,
are these thoughts that I got on my goals somehow reshaping me in thinking different? And following that line now of thinking, what are these actions somehow controllable, uh, regardless of the outcome? I mean, what things I can control, uh, even if the outcome is not what was expecting.
Mhm.
So I don't get this feeling of failure at the end, because I do want to accomplish this kind of stuff, because I'm not in this idea of completely like getting into the adventure of the new year and having no idea what's going to happen. Maybe it's a control issue I do have, but but I do want to accomplish some stuff, so I need to establish these objectives for me, and but not always are. I mean, life happens, and you're not always in control of everything. So regardless of failing that, how what is actually controllable in the outcome,
Mhm.
so you don't get this feeling of failing all the time.
Mhm. Well, I think the part that's controllable is the perspective that you look at the outcome from. So what I'm thinking is, this idea of climbing so much of the mountain, thinking that's the peak, getting to there and realizing, oh, there's another peak. But I think that doesn't change the fact that the original objective was accomplished. Like you did get to the peak. It's just that you didn't know or didn't think at that time that there could be another. So what can be controlled there is sort of the framing of all of these of this journey, where rather than or this could be seen as I failed to reach the destination, or kind of the camera can move up and say, oh, I reached the destination. It just happened that the destination was in fact step one of what I wanted to actually get. And notice how then it goes from a binary to the process. Oh, okay, so this is step one. I need to do the other whatever number of steps there may be. But that's kind of the idea there. Like the reality of the things itself, that's not going to change. It already happened. But how this is seen on what this means to you, that's the part that can change. I'm kind of saying what we were saying earlier, like this idea of like the question maybe it's not what else could I have done, but why am I seeing this not as a step, as a failure? Does that make sense? So that's kind of the question there. Like, what is preventing the perspective from moving from okay, I this was a binary before to oh, it is a step of a process. Because at the end of the day, that's the shift that needs to change. Because you will never be able to predict the future precisely. So this will happen over and over and over and over again in different situations. So it's really more about having the skill to take that step and say, oh, okay, I turns out there was more to do. Let me sort of reframe what I already did inside this greater perspective without losing what I already did. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's complicated, but anyways, trying to look from outside.
In this.
Yeah, because as you're involved, it gets it's frustrating trying to put your eyes outside and actually look at what you've accomplished so far.
It is.
But
It is.
I think it must be tried at least.
Yes, it is. It is. I think I think we say this very often as well. Like self-assessment or self reflection, it is very challenging for most people. Like most people, most of us do not have a good way of assessing our own skills, at least not in every aspect of our life. we may be really good at assessing our skills in some areas of our life, but we are not great at assessing our skills in all areas of our life. So there is definitely like a learning process involved there in being on one level more perceptive, on another level more honest with yourself. Maybe this is a topic for a different episode, but there's this mixture of my own expectation versus the expectation of others, what I want because I as a caprice, as a I just want it, versus what I want because it is important for me as a person or whatever role I have or whatever. So there is a lot of complexity there as well, but it is at the end of the day a learning process where it's learning to be more compassionate with yourself in the sense that, like I said before, it's less about, oh, I failed, and more about, okay, doesn't matter if I fail. What did I do, and what does this mean in the greater context of what I'm trying to do? Mm-hmm.
Well, let's get to the strategy part.
Mm-hmm.
So, well, I do actually ask ChatGPT about this.
Mm-hmm.
So, what would be a good way to establish a strategy to actually accomplish the stuff we're trying to play on for the next year and make them executable on a daily basis?
Mm-hmm.
And the answer, not for my surprise at all, sounded a lot like something taken out of a Variety magazine.
Okay.
Yeah. So you got all these actions and rules that you can take, and three phases divided, that so that it's something that you can actually perform on the, I don't know how much time it was, about 20 minutes on the end of the year
Mm-hmm.
to actually establish your own setup of stuff that will be more or less suited for you to accomplish. No,
Mm-hmm.
so it said ideas like extract meaning from the ritual,
Mm-hmm.
and it said something like reality mapping across three systems, and then it said something about continuity lock, and so it said it works. The whole process works because of these ideas. So it honors ritual without mistaking it for strategy. There's a strategy for it not to be a strategy. Makes family dynamics explicit without forcing conflict. Replaces distant goals with phase-based closure.
Mm-hmm.
Prevents false failure by redefining success. Some of what we talk about,
Mm-hmm.
not redefining by looking from another angle, really.
Mm-hmm.
Keeps you in action without relying on motivation.
Mm-hmm.
I not exactly know how, but well. And most importantly, it can be done today without waiting for clarity, energy, or consensus, like every other. I don't know. You know when they are reading your hand
Mm-hmm.
and they make this joke about you having a house and you're gonna have a pool, and they all of a sudden spit on your hand.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think ChatGPT just spit on my hand with this. So,
Mm-hmm.
Josh, being honest, is there a way to actually create something today that will help us get an idea on the goals that we want to establish for next year? Or it's out of sense, completely nonsense, and we better get more or less like, okay, I got these ideas. I need to plan for them and take my time and don't hurry on just it because they came to my mind as, inspiration. The
Mm-hmm.
muses visit me that night, and I'm so ready to go on.
Mm-hmm. No, I think you said it very well there. Like, if what I'm doing is on December 31st, imagining the new year and writing it down, that's fantasizing. Like that's me writing a fan fiction of the next year. That's not planning. That's not setting goals. That's me just having a dream and writing it out. I would say if like if you're watching this today on December 31st, enjoy the day. Do not do more plans today. Just enjoy the food, enjoy the holidays, have the 12 grapes, go run around the block, put $1 on your shoe, do all of those things. Like have fun with it. Tomorrow, you can sit down and start like the process of actually thinking what changes you want to do or what changes you want to see in your life. I would say you start there. Look at your life on January 1st, 2026 and say, okay, by the next December 23rd, December 31st, this is what I want to have changed. And start there. Like, you start with fantasy. You start with the fantasy of next Christmas and see what you would like to change. See what is different for you in this fantasy of your ideal next Christmas. And start there. Okay, so I have lost 30 kilos. I don't know why I keep thinking of that. I have found a new job. I have found a girlfriend. I have bought a dog. And start there. But what you need to do is now think and plan. Oh, I want to get a new dog. My apartment doesn't allow dogs. Okay, so step number one, find a new apartment. Perfect. I want to find a girlfriend. Oh, but I live in a really small rural town in Nebraska. Okay. I may need to open online profiles. I may need to start looking to move into the city. I may need to start, I don't know, finding a PayPal in Romania. I can, I don't know. Right, like, so there are things, so again, very nice, like very nice. If you want to do the ritual, do the ritual. But then you do the planning. Then you do the sitting down and actually, like I said, there needs to be some reflection on what you want to do, really, why, and realistically, what the process to get there is going to look like. Like I said, there are probably a lot of steps between January 1st and me getting a girlfriend. There's a reason why in the past 5 years I didn't get one. So I have to figure out why and fix it. That is the planning process. Everything, like anything, like if I want to find a new job, there is a reason why I have had the same job for the last 10 years. Okay, I need to figure out why and what do I need to do to find the new job. That's kind of the idea. If all I do is right now find a new job, that's a dream. Very nice. Do that. You can do that today for sure. The planning to actually find a new job, you have to do that tomorrow, sitting down, carefully thinking, sober. That's kind of the idea there.
Very well. So, if it's true, we need to think of it. Put some head on whatever you want to actually achieve. You need to put some head on it. Don't rush. Don't do it just because it's the heat of the moment. Wait it. And let's see what actually came out from the internet on behalf of this indiscretions for the end of the year. So, what would it mean for this year to be gentler?
I think this is contrary to what one may think. This depends on yourself. I think the word itself is not mean or nice to you. The word just is. You are the one that's mean or nice to you. So if you want the new year to be more gentle, you need to be more gentle with yourself. There will be crisis in the new year. There will be drama in the new year. There will be maybe the AI bubble will burst. You cannot control it, but you can control how you see yourself. You can control how you talk to yourself. You can control how you judge yourself. So that is what you can do. So if last year was rough, try to be more gentle with yourself next year. Try to be more compassionate.
Good. Now, which goal, if abandoned, would improve my mental health?
Hmm. I mean, this really depends a lot on the person and where they are in their life. Um, there are definitely people who, like we were saying earlier, who may find some order, who may find some guidance, who may find some stability in having goals. So I don't think you should drop your goals if that's the case. There is also a lot of people whom goals are the opposite. They are a reason to, be hard on themselves. They are an argument against their self-esteem. They are a source of stress, a source of drama, of arguments with family. In that case, I would say drop them. Drop them all. Like I said earlier, you don't have to have goals for the new year. You can just take the new year as an adventure. So I would really say, rather than one specific goal that needs to be kept or discarded, you need to have that honest discussion with yourself of are these goals actually improving my life? Not are they going to? No, no, no. Are they right now actually improving my life, or are they making them worse? And then you can plan based on that. Because that's what you can see right now, the present. The future is a dream. The past is fake.
Unknown, unexistent. So this goes back to the structures thing. So what support structures deserve more investment than outcomes?
Hmm.
I don't
Yes.
really understand this question.
Yeah. So I think this is a little bit what we were saying earlier. This idea that see it more as a process than as a binary outcome that I succeed or fail. So I think this is what this is saying. Like it is more about the structures that are sort of part of the process to getting where you want to do or what where you want to get, rather than getting there. So if you want to
Mm,
lose weight, getting the discipline to go to the gym every day is by itself probably worth more than actually going to that specific gym every specific day. Because you gain the discipline, you gain the fundamental skill that now you can use for other stuff. So that's kind of the idea here. It sort of goes back to this idea of the goal is a guidance, but it's something more about the process than about actually getting there. If you lose 28 instead of 30 kilos, you still like did a lot of things. You still learned a lot. You still changed a lot. It doesn't matter that you didn't get to the number. You still did the other 99%. That's kind of really useful.
yeah, yeah. Get it. There, I get it. If this year were successful, what will feel different day to day?
Hmm. Yeah, I think if you take the previous year as a reference, I think if you get to the same date and you can say, yeah, I had a better time this year than I did last year, that can be your baseline for I had a good year. If something got better from last year to this year. That would always happen. Again, like that would be the lie of capitalism that the line only goes up. No, the line does only go up. There will be bad years at some point in the future. But I think that's a good measurement of a reference. Rather than going to some distant memory or to some ideal future, you can say, okay, last year, how did I feel at this same date? How do I feel today? How that changed? If that different? And then you can build on that for next year.
Hey, this is another one of those weirds that uh, internet throw at me, and it says which resolution supports the others indirectly. I'm not sure if it's asking about other resolutions of other people.
I see, I see. So I think what this is asking is about sort of connecting your resolution, right? So if I want to lose 30 kilos, maybe I will also become a vegetarian. So I will be watching my diet and also going to the gym. So they sort of support each other. I'd say that's a tricky plan. I can definitely see some people benefiting from having that coordinated sort of work. It is
change.
more work. Yeah, but it is more work. And I don't know if you're already struggling to do one goal, if adding another one is going to actually make it easier. I would think that would make it harder. I'd say if you are already succeeding, right? If maybe last year you already went to the gym the whole year, maybe then you can build on that and say, okay, so this year maybe I am going to start watching my diet. And now you are sort of compounding those transformations that you want to make. But going from zero to adding yet another goal, that to me that sounds like sabotage. That sounds like making it even harder on yourself.
It might be.
Mm-mm.
So take it easy.
Mm-mm.
So well, I think we're almost at the end now. So as every week, I'd like to thank you all on the other side. We'd love to hear from you. If you want to write to us, you got our channels, your ways. You can use the comments area or whatever you want to get in contact with us. Give us suggestions or I don't know, whatever is coming up to you. And we're still working on our changes. Some of them have been implemented in these last two episodes. So and more things are to come on 2026. So let's see where the road takes us.
Yep. As always, looking forward for the changes in the new year. Let's see. Hopefully things will keep going well. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for watching the show, for listening to us. Don't forget to follow us on social media, or YouTube, or on Twitch, wherever you are. And thank you. Thank you once again for being here.
So I wanted to end this with a ritual tradition from our lands, our original lands. Is that we rhyme stuff for the end of the year when our old guy is dying and he's trying to leave us. Well, we make some rhymes so that we prepare for the what's coming. So I wrote this. Uh, as one year fades, a Latin rite takes from in quiet rhyme. A quina cast towards days unborn, a hope ahead of time. May darker hours not devour my faith or fortune won. I stand with feet upon the earth, my gaze towards what goes on, ground still, yet skyward bound. Happy New Year all around.
Thank you for those kind of words. Thank you, Dear. Thank you, Dean.
Well, see ya.
Have a
Until
good
next
day.
year.
See you
Peace
next
out.
year. Bye bye.